As the ball sails through the air, I make my way toward first, a blur of flailing arms and pumping legs. If only these damn fools could keep up, the men of Boston Engine number 12. They look like a bunch of flopping, dying fish out there. As I make my way towards second, I spy a fellow who seems to keep his head about him. Clark is his name. He seems to extricate himself away from the crazy pileup in center field and scoops the ball into his mitt. He might make one decent firefighter, if not a hell of a ball player. He's quick, real quick. As I hit the sandbag that's marked second, I increase my pace, and Clark charges after me. Now I'm in a query. Do I keep going, or do I hold up at third? Oh, hell, I didn't come here to play it safe. I came here to teach these fine men about baseball. Third is behind me now, and home is getting closer and closer by the second, but the catcher, his eyes widen, and his arm is about to cover his face. For some reason, pain flares white hot in the small of my back, and all the catcher can say is, "I think you're out there, Chief." Clark comes to aid me, but I brush his hands away. Now, just what in the hell do you think you're doing, son? I'm sorry, Mr. Cartwright. I didn't mean to hurt you. How many times do I have to tell you? This isn't a town ball or three-cornered cat. This isn't one of those damn fool games you all play. This is baseball. I know, Mr. Cartwright, but what? But it's just a game. Clark and I are now nose to nose. It's not about the game, son. It's about following the rules. I procure a leather-bound notebook in the back trouser pocket, and I hold it up for all to see. And it says right here, no runner shall be out unless he is tagged by the adversary at the base, or if he is in between such bases and said adversary tags him with his mitt and the ball in mitt. It is understood, however, that no way shall he be out if the ball is thrown at him. Now, if you can't understand the rules, young man, how are you expecting to behave in a full-blown conflagration with lives to save? Just at that moment, I hear a scream at the end of the field and says, "Oh, leave him alone, Alec! For heaven's sake!" Just what I need. Men, back to your positions. No more plugging. Except you, Clark. With an arm like that, you're pitching. I make my way over to this newcomer, and he stands there, arms on the fence, with a smug smile plastered across his face. No wonder no one wants to play with you, Alec. I need these men in top physical condition. This isn't the Elysian Fields, Alfred. Alfred hops over the fence in one quick motion and says, "Yes, but the Knickerbockers, we were just trying to blow off some steam after work. Oh, which reminds me, you owe me 18 cents. 18 cents? What the hell for? Make that 24 cents. It's your rule, no profanity." Alfred's been on my ass, my rear, about these rules all for years now. Back in our Knickerbocker days, we were the best darn firefighters in the city. But when we weren't firefighting, we were playing baseball. Well, that is, when enough of us showed up to play. This is in the green words of Ellison Fields, and I got tired of having to cancel games from time to time, so I opted that we start our own traditional ball club with rules, regulations, and a requirement to attend. No one wanted to hear about your damn rules, Alec. But it was these rules that became one of the first baseball teams formed in the country. Excuse me a moment. Alfred, if you've come here to make a deal, you're starting off to a wrong patch of work. Oh, Alec, what's wrong with wanting to see my older brother, huh? But I do have an idea you might be interested in. I'm not. Oh, but you don't even know what it is. Alfred, if you had any gumption in your life to hold a career for more than a month, you might make something of yourself. A rolling stone gathers no moss, Alfred. Alec, I understand, but just wait. Imagine this. A.D. Cartwright's feed store. The first one in Honolulu. No. I grab my discarded bat, but Alfred pulls it away to argue. Oh, but it could be a huge opportunity, Alec. Come on. At this moment, the men of company engine number 12 are starting to pretend not to stare. And Alfred mutters only as if I can hear him. Look, Alec, I'm in a pinch. I really need some startup money just to get things started. What do you say? Alfred, I'm a businessman now, and I don't loan money to those who don't pay me back. I grab the discarded bat, and it's a bit easier to pull it away from Alfred, and now the men don't even pretend at all. They're staring deeply. Back to your positions, boys. Let's play ball. At that moment, the station's alarm bells begin to clang loudly. Okay, boys, chop, chop, you know the drill. They discard their mitts. They put their red smocks over their heads, and I don my helmet as the engine comes out with these beautiful black horses, and I grab the reins and I pull myself up onto the wooden apparatus, but I hear a dull thud come behind me, and it's Alfred, and he's stolen a fire's helmet. I'm coming with you. Oh, like hell you are. No, Alec, let me prove it to you, please. I can do it. We have our own way of doing things, Alfred. Oh, yes, you and your rules. Come on, are we going to sit here and argue, or are we going to start saving lives? I better not regret this, and I tug on the reins, and we're off. We're set down on New Oahu Avenue with clanging hooves and ringing bells. Sure beats the hell out of carrying the thing, eh, Alec? Now I pause for parentheses because Alfred's not wrong. You see, back in our Knickerbocker days, the engines were these big water tanks, and they were on wheels, and if you wanted to pull it somewhere, you had to drag it yourself. You broke your back, and they moved slower than molasses. But things didn't get any easier by the time we arrived in Honolulu. To suppress a burning building that was made out of brick or masonry, it was hard enough, but a grass holly or a wooden warehouse, on the nigh of impossible. Before that, the locals had a decent engine, and they would have bucket brigades to get the flames out. And when that didn't work, they would take these long poles to the thatched roof and pull it down on top of itself to suppress the flames. The merchants didn't really care to see their capital go up in smoke, so they put in a bit of coin for protection, and a good old man named William Cooper Park was an unofficial fire chief and was able to assemble a good old Boston engine number 9 that was dragged out of a beach cargo vessel. Then he became marshal. Years later, the king, he approved of a volunteer fire brigade, and wouldn't you know it, he made me chief. Things really started to improve when I got a set of rules down on paper. This put the confidence in the men, and in turn, the community had confidence, and it wasn't uncommon for us to go down the streets with a cheer of a neighborhood as we battle a blaze. King Kamehameha III himself would help out from time to time. He would shed his coat, man the brakes, and be with us alongside us every now and again, and boy, it sure was an honor. Whoa! The horses skid to a stop, and we see a burning building. Well, it's more of a tinderbox with flames as they shoot up and lick hungrily at the sky. Alfred, he jumps off the edge, the back of the engine, and he pulls on this cotton duck sheath from its ring, and he's looking for a water source, but it's an old-fashioned technique. You see, Clark would normally plug us into a hydrant, but Alfred has an old-fashioned technique of finding a hole in the ground. He finds one and he puts the hose down deep, and he yells, "Man the brakes!" So the men with great arms, they start parallel to the engine and pump up and down. Yet, something isn't right. There's sound, definitely suction from the hole into the contents are flowing through the hose. The pistons are in the engine, but it just doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound like water. Alfred, wait! But it's too late. Clark is holding the hose, and this thick, grayish liquid spews out from the nozzle and spews forth in all directions. Oh, Alfred, you idiot! Can't you tell between a well and a cesspool? The poor bastard comes forward, and he's soaked from head to toe in sewage. Oh, I'm sorry, Alec. I didn't know. Get back with the men and start pumping. Clark has hooked us up to a fire hose at fire hydrant at this time, and then there's an eruption from the crowd of evacuees and gawkers. It's a sound I am not too familiar with, but they scream, "Hi-ya-hi, look!" I trace the pointing to a second-story window, and there's a man there. His face is singed, and his free arm hangs uselessly at his side. Oh, for God's sakes, forget the flames. If we don't help him, he's going to suffocate. I need ladders now! The men, they unhinge the iron beast, but Alfred stops them. He says, "There's no time for that. We need to go into the bottom floor." "Alfred, it's too dangerous. Stay put." "No, you can trust me, Alec." He goes and darts toward the towering inferno. I motion for Clark, but Clark just stands there, his mouth agape. The moment is of total agony as we expect the inevitable. None of us move a muscle. Crack! A support timber from the angle at the right side falls, and the whole side foundation falls in on itself. None of us make a sound. Not the men, not the crowd, not myself. Even the flames seem to have quieted down, as if only for this moment. The coughing, it is at a faint distance, but second by second the coughing grows louder in volume. A silhouette of two figures exit the doorframe and... Get them the hell out of there, I bellow! Clark and the men go and grab Alfred and the wounded man out from the burning building just before it collapses in on itself completely. And I grab Alfred by the scruff of the neck and I say, "You idiot! You could have gotten yourself killed!" And he says, but I didn't. I just did what I thought you would have done. What I would have done. Yes, we're Cartwrights. We take risks. It's what we do. Maybe you, but not me. Is that what you really think? You're a man who moved from east to west on a wagon train in search of gold that may or may not exist. You traveled to an island that you know nothing about. Hell, you fight fires for a living! If that's not risk-taking, then... Yes, but I play it safe. By the book. By the rules, Alfred. And he starts to laugh in my face. You're a damned fool, you know that? But you're my fool. And I would follow you to the ends of the earth. For the first time in my life, I have nothing to say. No insult to hurl, no lectures to give. I'd hate to admit it, but I think my younger brother just may be talking sense. Well, don't just stand there, you idiot! Get me out of here, Alec, before I choke to death! I fling his arm around my shoulder and I help him upon the engine. I sit right next to him as we share a moment for the conflagration ahead of us. He mutters to himself as if to say, well, it looks like some water property just opened up. I nod in agreement. Yes. And I hear that this town is in desperate need of a feed store. He looks over at me in astonishment and says, are you serious? Well, it's just something I heard. May be a disaster, but that's a risk that we're going to have to take.